Hey everyone, it's Rob from Hypop and welcome back to another video. In this one, I have an exciting new light here. This is one that I've been waiting for. This is the Godox LED MS60R RGB LED light. So for those of you that don't know, how we get access to these brand new Godox products is because we're actually a physical store here based out of Sydney, Australia. We sell a whole bunch of photographic equipment, including lighting, just like these Godox lights here. So if you want to take a closer look at our website and our store details, click the link down below. Now I've got the Godox MS60R here. This is part of Godox's NOLED range of lights. And if you don't know, the NOLED range of lights are Godox's professional continuous lights, video lights that are catered to the professional industry, similar to Aperture, how they have split up their brand with Aperture being their main brand and then Amaran being their brand catered to content creators. NOLED's catered to sort of that professional market. They've been releasing lights pretty quickly, especially to start off the new year here in 2025. This one here is the Godox NOLED MS60R. And why I'm excited with this one is because it's a compact COB LED light with so many versatile options on how to power it, mount it. The use cases for these lights are varied, wide and varied, so you have so many ways that you can utilize a light source just like this. Firstly, it's got an internal battery and power supply that's 3300 milliamps, so you can utilize that to power this light independently without the need for cables. So let's jump in and take a closer look and unbox this one here. So this particular kit here is the single light kit. It actually comes in a few different kits, including a 2 light and a 4 light kit with a few different other inclusions. So this one in particular is if you buy the light separately. Now you can see the first thing we see is a carry case. And that's that Godox branded carry case there. It looks really nice. It's kind of like a hard case, not like a Pelican case, but it's kind of rigid. And on the inside here, we've got the user guide. There's some instructions there on how to download their app. Godox have a NOLED app as well as Godox Light app that you can control lights wirelessly via this app. You've also got a mounting tilt bracket here. That's just a 1/4 inch thread there that you can use to tighten, and you can control the tilt here. This tilt bracket also features an umbrella mount. You've got a USB Type-C to Type-C cable there with a Godox tie there, cable tie. And that there is to power and charge the internal battery as mentioned. And of course, you've got the Godox MS60R light body itself. Now there's some padding here, which looks like it just separates the battery component. This is that part there, the back part, from the body itself during packaging, so it doesn't sort of initiate and drain the battery, and it's not drawing any power. So there's padding there. And you can see it's 2 parts. And the first thoughts here are that it is a very compact LED light. You can see it's a COB LED light, and for those of you that don't know, a COB LED light is a chip on board, single source sort of output from the light source here at the center. It's also about the size of a soft drink can, and also quite similar to the Godox AD100 Pro flash, 100 watt flash. So it really is quite compact, and in my hand you can see there. Now this light itself is actually rated at 60 watts of output, but as you know, LED lighting sources aren't really rated on wattage, they're rated on lumens, and it's approximately about 1420 lumens at without the actual lens mount on the front here. This is an unmodified light source. When it's unmodified, it's 1420 lux, and when it is modified with the lens at the front here, you're getting at about 11,000 lux at 1 meter. So quite a powerful light source when they got the lens on, and still quite powerful when it's unmodified. Now looking at the light body itself, there's quite a lot to look at here. You've got a few vents here. They're all cooling vents, obviously, because this is a 60 watt lighting source. It's quite hefty. The light itself weighs about 311 grams, so it's not super heavy, but it does feel hefty for a light source. It's not one of those really lightweight type builds. You can see there's a 1/4 inch thread mounting point there that is for the bracket that's provided. You have a few slots here that you can actually use to mount this in a variety of ways. So this is the battery component at the back. You can see it's USB Type-C. There's some battery indicators, but these here are mounting points. So people have used zip ties to mount this onto, say, a pole overhead. And there's so many different ways that you can utilize this light. Now the back part here, there's a release button that allows you to release the battery there. And the battery itself is a 3400 milliamp, 48.96 watt hour, 14.4 volt battery. It can take up to a USB Type-C input of 20 volts, 3 amps. And so that means you can fast charge this. There is some indicators there that show you the charging status. And on the back here, you're actually able to purchase optional plates for the back, which allow you to mount things such as NPF or L series type batteries. There's V-lock batteries. There's also a figure 8 cable adapter for the back here, so it allows you to plug this directly into power if you need to. And there's also a very unique accessory to match up with that figure 8 mounting port, which is an E27 screw thread mount. So that allows you to use the light source here. So without the battery part, which is actually quite heavy, the light itself is fairly lightweight. So you can imagine a mount at the back here along with the E27 mount to screw this into a light fixture and perhaps use this as a practical light. So this is the Aperture B7C bulb. So you can see that this is a fairly lightweight light as well, but this doesn't really produce a huge amount of output. But the ability to, have the same kind of design with a stronger light source such as the MS60R, that's really an advantage there, giving you a flexible mounting option to use as a light here with all the RGB functionality. Now, when we go to look at the rest of the light, there's the on-off switch. There's also another USB Type-C port there. So if you're not powering it via the battery there to charge, you can power it via USB Type-C. As long as you're providing power to the light there. And you also have a screen here with mode, menu, a scroll wheel, and also that acts as a press button too. Now the front of the light is also interesting because there's so many different mounting options for this light, and Godox have released a whole new ecosystem just for this light here. It's quite similar to a Bowen's mount, but you can see there's a latch to release here. And there's some lines that line up the mount to ensure that everything's all secure, and you hear that click. But when you go to release this, it reveals the unmodified light source and that COB chip there, as well as what looks like basically a mini Bowen's mount here. And that allows you to mount all the different accessories that Godox have made for this particular light. Now there's so many different accessories that they've released, modifiers such as softboxes, barn doors. They've also got like a lantern softbox. They've got little domes. They also have a spotlight accessory, which is going to be a useful tool for a light source like this. So you can imagine being battery powered, having a spotlight accessory, and being able to create so many different lighting effects and modify the light in any way that you want. And that's really the advantage of this light. Now this Fresnel head here is included, and it's also magnetic. So that means it opens you up to the magnetic accessories that are already released by Godox, including the AK R1 kit that's actually made for their flash kit initially, but will work with this as it's the same diameter, and it's also a similar kind of design to the AD100 Pro. I've actually got the Godox AD100 Pro here as a comparison, and you can see them side by side here to the MS60R. And of course the AD100 Pro here is just slightly shorter in terms of its length. The MS60R is approximately 140 mils in length and 77 mil in diameter. So that's identical to the AD100 Pro there. So you can see that stacked on top of each other there, which means it will most definitely support the accessories from the round head of the V1s, the V1 Pro, the brand new V100, the AD100 Pro, and now the MS60 range. Now this is the MS60R, meaning that it is the RGB version of this light. And there are two versions to this light. There's the MS60 Bi, it's a bi-color light. So if you don't need the R or the RGB functionalities, then you wouldn't need to go for this model in particular. You can most definitely get away with the Bi model. And some features and specs for this light, since we haven't gone through them yet. Firstly, it has a CCT range of 1800 Kelvin to 10,000 Kelvin. So there's quite a huge range there of CCT to choose from. You can go in 100K increments. You also have a full output control from 0 to 100% at 0.1% increments. So that's really neat. You can really fine tune the output with this light. The R model in particular has a CRI rating and TLCI rating of 95. So that's industry standard really in terms of really high CRI rating and color rendering production. And you also have many modes to choose from in terms of the functionality for the RGB features. You've got the RGB mode, you've got the XY axis, and you've also got FX modes on this light that you can access on board through the controls here. We'll do this via the Godox Light app or the Godox No LED app via Bluetooth. So, which leads me to the way you can control this light. And of course, being the No LED range here, the professional range, you have access to DMX512. You've got Lumen Radio CRMX control via Bluetooth. You've got that Bluetooth control with the light apps, and you also have the onboard control. So there's so many different ways that you can use this light, control this light, especially if you're using them in a configuration of multiple lights. Now, if you've been keeping track, Godox have released a fairly new model that's comparable to this one here, also with a similar sort of naming scheme, but under their Lightmons brand. So that would be the Godox MS60R. And it actually looks almost identical to this MS60R, albeit a few features that are not included in the lower model. Essentially, the RS60R is considered a lower model. Now, the RS60R is less modular than the MS60R in that you don't have the ability to have all these different mounting options with the RS60R. You also don't have that many powering options in terms of the ability to remove the battery, replace the powering options for the MPF plate, V-lock plate, as well as the AC power via the figure 8 cable. And you also have a few less features overall on the light. So that's something to take note of. Now in Australia, this will be retailing for about 790 Australian dollars. I'll put up the comparisons on screen for the US pricing. And the RS60 will be about 550 Australian dollars for the R model specifically. And I'll put up the US pricing on screen as well. So you can see there is a bit of a price difference if you don't require all of those additional features that the MS60R provides. The MS60R is available in multiple light kits, and you're able to purchase this as an individual light just like this. There's a 2 light kit and there's a 4 light kit. Now, just to rattle off some inclusions in those light kits, they're pretty comprehensive kits that include a lot of items such as different modifiers, which include the lens reflector, there's the power adapter, there's batteries, there's the zoom lens. It also includes a parabolic softbox and a rectangular softbox. You also have the magnetic kit similar to the AKR1, which has a barn door, a snoot, a diffuser dome. You have all the cables, the relevant cables, as well as that really innovative E27 mount adapter. And on the 4 light kit, you have even more, including a really hard carry case, which is also included in the 2 light kit, mind you. You've got all of those additional accessories, but to match for 4 lights, so you've basically got duplicates of both. You get 8 batteries in the 4 light kit, so you get spare batteries for each light. And all the optional accessories that are included, I'll rattle some off and we'll show them up on screen, include the parallel beam reflector, that is the Beamlight S20. That's if you want to narrow down your beam. You've got a lantern softbox, the SL1, the reflector, the SR15. You've got a projection attachment with a 36-degree lens, so that's the SP36K. You've got a projection attachment with a 50-degree lens, that's the SP50K. As mentioned, you've got that NPF battery adapter, the MS60 NPA, the snoot AKSN, and you've also got a DMX adapter cable, the DMXC1. These are all optional accessories that you can get for the MS family, the MS60 family. Now, Godox have also released a beam booster, which is called the DL5 Lite, and that will be compatible with the MS60. So you have something that can boost the light beam and direct that and make that more of a spot type of light. You also have the ability to mount Bowen's modifiers using this particular head, because it is the same diameter as the 8100 Pro. This will work with the Godox S2 bracket. Now the Godox S2 bracket is a Bowen's mount that allows you to mount all those different lighting modifiers, including Bowen's softboxes. So some popular softboxes from Godox include ones from their QRT range. And if you want to take a closer look at that unboxing and review, you can click the link up above. And it opens you up to all the Bowen's modifiers. So if you've got a bunch of those, you can use them with the MS60R as well. So what you can see, without even operating this light here, you have access to so many different lighting modifiers, ways to power this light, the ability to use this light, how to use this, control this wirelessly, NFC, DMX, CRMX, so many different ways that you can use the MS60R. Now I've got the MS60R mounted onto a desk mount here just so we can have a look at how to operate this light. Firstly, just turning it on with the slide switch on the right side of the panel there. And on the left side, we've got the screen here that immediately shows a icon here that shows you to unlock this. Simply scroll down on the scroll wheel there. Now we can press down on this scroll wheel too, and that will enter, that basically is like an enter button when you press that down. And the first thing we see is the dimmer, and it's set to 100% currently. And if you press down, you can see you can reduce this. You can reduce this in 0.1% increments, so really fine tuning it there. Whereas the CCT, you can go down in 100K increments. As mentioned, it goes from 1800 Kelvin there, all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin. It's a fairly cool and blue light there at 10,000 Kelvin. Now scrolling down, you've got the green magenta color shift, and you've actually got a range of plus 100 and minus 100 for the green magenta color shift. Apparently, according to Godox, some initial models had a green shift on the light, and they're going to be updating that, if not already, with release models via a firmware update too. Now that's all the basic modes there when you're in CCT mode. You can jump into mode and you can see you've got CCT, HSI, you've got gel mode, RGBW, XY, and FX. So quite a few different modes there, and they're all fairly standard. So HSI, as you can see, you can dial in the hue, saturation, and intensity. 0 to 360 degrees to really fine tune that color. You've got gel modes here. So gel modes, you've got R gel, L gel, so that's Roscoe and Lee. And you can do the hue and saturation as well. You've got RGBW, so if you're wanting to plug in the RGBW values, you can do that. You've got the XY values. If you wanted to plug in the XY values, you can do so here. And also the FX mode, which allows you to cycle through a bunch of different lighting effects, which always look great when using an RGB light. It's a lot more believable, and there's a few features in there. Now, doing this all via the scroll wheel and via the buttons here is a little difficult. Obviously, it's a bit fiddly with the finger control, so it's much better to do this via the Godox Light app or the Godox No-LED app. And when you jump into menu, you can see you've got DMX, you've got CRMX, you've got Bluetooth. Now with the Bluetooth, you've actually got a range of about 60 meters as well, so you can control this wirelessly within that range. You've got curves, and the curves you can go from linear, S-curve, exponential, and logarithmic, and that's how the light steps up and steps down in terms of its output. How you want that to happen, you can do that via curves. You've got smoothing as well, so you've got smoothing on or off. You've got control mode, and if you're wanting to change the control mode and the frequency there. You've got color space, the original gamut, correction gamut, REC 709, DCI-P3, so you can see some advanced features there, color features. You've got fan mode, so if you can set that to auto, or if you set it to off, automatically when you go back into, let's go back into our CCT mode. When you have the fan off, the maximum you can go up to is 10% output. If you go to medium as an example, or high, let's go to medium. When you're on medium, looks like you can go quite a bit higher than 10%. You're capping out at 80% on medium. And if you go on high, I can hear the fan going there now. If you go on high, you can most certainly go all the way up to 100% there.
There we go. But I'd like to leave this on auto here. It allows it to adjust as needed. And you've got the auto anti-false touch, and that was when we turned it on, having that ability to scroll the wheel there to unlock the menu, which is good, especially if you're using a battery here at the back, which allows you to prevent any accidental presses, especially while in a bag or something like that, and then it drains the battery. So usually just have that on as a safety precaution. You've got the fixture number, so you can actually set a fixture number to the fixture that you're using. That allows you to control them independently and a lot easier via the light apps. You've got display, so you can control how bright you want the display. Language, you can toggle between English and Chinese. And you've got factory reset, fixture info, and the fixture info just goes through the version of the software, temperature of the actual light. Right now it's sitting at about 57%. And let's factory reset that. To do that, it turns off, and you can see it does the anti-false touch again and brings you back to mode. And my final thoughts on the MS60R is that this light is pretty expensive in terms of its price point. It is sitting at about 790 Australian dollars, which does sound a lot for a light source, but it's one of these lights that now I don't think you would even need another LED light once you get a light source like this, unless you're after a lot more output. If you want something that's really portable, it's going to cover all bases, has so many different lighting modifiers as part of the ecosystem, the ability to use multiple of these in a setup. You basically have an all-in-one light. I would say that this is basically like the Swiss Army knife of lights. You've got the different powering options, the different lighting modifiers. The E27 mount is really amazing that they've included that as a feature. Controlling this all wirelessly. I can imagine fitting out, a scene, whether that's photography or filmmaking, and using this light and just basically controlling this all wirelessly, and it's so easy, all in the palm of your hand, just like that. 2 lights, you're good to go. So I really like this light. I feel like it will be worth its money in terms of the price point. However, if you are after some of the lesser features, you don't need all of that, modular type features and the powering options, then maybe take a look at the Godox MS60R from Lightmons. So that was my unboxing and review of the Godox MS60R. For more videos just like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be updated of any new content we release. Leave a like on the video if it's helped you. Feel free to leave down in the comment section below your thoughts, or if you have any questions about the Godox MS60R. Follow us on socials, the links are down below, and visit our website, hypop.com.au. Thanks for watching.